Most footballers here in Malta have a wish to play overseas. I think they so want to go abroad, and it's such a dream when they get their opportunity that they don't realize what they're going to be facing.
On the pitch was hard, but then when you get off the pitch, it was even harder.
Malta is known as an attractive destination for tourists. In its cities, you can see many references of its rich history, like the St. Joseph Church in Mesida and the Christ the King statue from 1913 in Floriana, created by Antonio Scortino. Malta is also a birthplace of football talents. For the most promising players, an adventure abroad is often the next step. They head to countries like Italy, Denmark and England. Yet, they often return soon and fail to realize their dream abroad. Why is that? Is it a lack of quality or are there deeper reasons? And what it's like to board a plane as a child and strive to achieve your goal alone at all costs.
This is my debut, first time I ever played for Palermo. It was against Juventus. So, we won 2-0. I kept a clean sheet. So yeah, that was my fondest memory. Like, you know, playing first of all one of the biggest clubs in Italy. You know, so I always remember that.
Rashid Al-Toumi is 23 years old and the first keeper of Sliema Wanderers.
You look forward to every training session, so it's like you just stay a kid, you know, like you just a kid just playing football around, but you know, more organized. So that's the only thing that changed. First place where I ever played football, here. You know, where there's the tree, there used to be a really tall palm tree, and the stone wasn't there, so the goal was the tree till the flashlight on the floor, yeah, and the goal behind you.
Rashid played in the youth of his boyhood club Valletta FC, and he was very talented. Interest came from Italy, and he got the opportunity to move to Palermo.
At the time I used to play for the national team, and the guy who used to work for the national team, he was like had connections with clubs in Italy, and he called me. He was like, "These Palermo like interested in you, so are you interested to go?" And I was like, "Of course." So, Palermo at the time was like a major team, you know, in Italy. So you know, I was excited. I always wanted to play football. I always knew what I wanted to do, so football was it for me, you know. So you know, to like play professionally, it's like a big thing for a young kid in Malta, especially when you play like abroad to like one of the biggest leagues in the world, you know. So yeah, I was excited. Everyone encouraged me, obviously, like my mom, my sisters, you know. So yeah, I was exciting.
I grew up here at Floriana, playing in these playing grounds and fields.
This pitch was like a second home to him. Connor Borch is 27 years old and now plays for the Targine Rainbows.
It was a very wonderful time just playing, you know, picking the ball up, even being alone with it, you know. It gave me something that not another sport gave me, you know. When I made the first, my debut in the Maltese Premier League with Floriana, it was a really funny feeling, you know, because to tell the truth, it was something that I was expecting, you know, because I was putting my heart and soul in it, you know, in football, you know. I didn't want to do nothing more, just on playing football, you know, just becoming a professional football player. That's what I ever wanted to do, and that's what I would only talk about, you know, when I was young. So yeah, it was something that I was expecting, but when it happened, you know, like your emotions, they are so high at the time, you know. And I was really grateful, you know, for Floriana, that gave me obviously the chance to promote myself and perform in the Maltese Premier League, you know. It was near halfway through the season, you know, and I was driving in the car with my dad, and my dad told me like, listen, Connor, if you have the chance to go abroad and play, will you go? You know, and I was like, are you serious? You know, like that's every Maltese boy, young boy's dream here, you know.
For Connor, the dream seemed to come true as he earned a move to Chievo in Italy.
I remember the day at the airport, I was really, prior to the date, I was really excited to go, you know, but on the day that came, it was like, I don't know how to describe exactly the feeling, because it was a joyful moment, but at the same time it was really hard for me because I was still young to really understand, let's say the world, you know. It's at 15 years, it's really hard, you know, to go abroad on your own, and leaving especially your families and friends at that time. It was really hard for me. As soon as I went up the steps alone, it was like I felt immediately a sense of responsibility, you know, because I knew that I was going to another country on my own. So I already felt that listen, now I have to be more responsible of my own and look more after myself at the end of the day.
I'm Dr. Muscat. I'm a lecturer here within the Institute for Physical Education and Sport. However, in Malta, I'm probably more known as Adel Muscat, the sports psychologist.
Because Adele was the first sports psychologist in Malta, and she was incredibly important for, amongst others, the footballers. She worked for multiple football clubs and was the sports psychologist for the Maltese national team.
Most footballers here in Malta have a wish to play overseas. The league here is challenging up to a certain point, and players know that if they want to continue to improve, they will need to move to better clubs overseas.
Now I have fluent Italian, like I can speak Italian normally. But at the time, it was really tough because, you know, for example, if you have a foreigner coming in and you have like your own friends, you're a local, you don't really think about the foreigner because he doesn't speak Italian, you don't speak English, so there's no way to communicate with each other, you know. So he's just like there and he doesn't speak, you know. That kind of situation it was. They joke with you, you know, like take your stuff and then give it, obviously, you know, like normal jokes in the dressing room. But you know, you can't have like a serious conversation with them, you know, because there's like a language barrier, so it's really tough. Yeah.
The guys there at the club, they didn't accept the foreigners, you know. It was really tough because obviously you're there to take their place at the end of the day, you know. You're there to compete with them, you know. So it was really tough for me because we were excluded, as to say, you know, from the group in the beginning, you know. And it was really tough for that because I believe that the most important thing to do is when you're going abroad, especially, let's just say, on football, because that's my experiences on football, is to make immediately friends. Because if you're not going to make friends, you're going to find yourself alone, and when you're alone, the mind starts to think, you know.
We also know that sometimes players become a number. They're not seen as individual human beings with all the challenges, with all the insecurities that they face. They are seen as money-making machines sometimes, you know, let me see how much I can get from this player, you know, but it is also the case that maybe psychological support is not offered enough.
Nobody came and spoke to me, you know, like, listen, these are the difficulties you're going to find, these are the things that you need to know, these are the things that you need to do, you know.
We all need support at different times in our lives, whether it's related to our career or whether it's related to personal issues that we may be experiencing.
Like the first month was okay because, you know, you're still fresh, like you're still ready for the adventure, you know. But then like the third month, fourth month, you know, then it becomes like frustrating because I wasn't playing that much, so I wasn't playing that much. I don't go out, so I'm always at home. And it becomes a little bit frustrating, you know, because and then you start to doubt yourself, what am I doing here?
The lack of playing time is a common problem, and Adele tries to talk with the players about this.
You are still training, you are still getting your opportunities to improve through your training, and part of a footballer's journey is understanding that success doesn't happen immediately, and that sometimes this waiting game is trying to teach us something in life. So focus on your goals in training, show that you're the best player in training, and then the club cannot not play you.
The most frustrating thing is that, you know, you train and then the training session, like every other player tells me, like, you just keep going, you're the best one here, you know what I mean? And then on a Sunday, I'm on the bench. So that is the most frustrating thing.
Rashid eventually left Palermo and then played for several other teams in Italy, such as Caserano, Nocerina and Arzachena. At these clubs he also did not always play, and he lost his joy in football.
I was very close to quitting. I was very close to stopping football. For example, when I came back, I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue or I wanted to stop. You know, I was very close because I was, you know, making 2 years, doing 2 years abroad, away from your family, away from your friends. For at that time, I was at Arzachena, I was 20. By the time I wanted to play, there's no more training to get better. I needed playing time.
Connor also came back to Malta. They both had mixed feelings about their return.
As much as I wanted to come back, there was something in me that didn't want me to come back. Because I knew that it's not because here in Malta you cannot be a very good player, you know, but when you play another level with other players, players that are of a high level, you can only improve, you know.
When I came back, obviously, you know, I have friends that still play there, and I like watch them, and I like see on social media, watch, you know, the score and stuff like that, and I took it. I put myself in my mind. I put myself in a really tough place. Like, no, you have to give up. Like, go home, and that's it. Whether if I calm down, and took a 2-day break, like which the Christmas vacations were coming. If I like unload on Christmas and then go back with a fresher mind, I could have done better, you know.
To succeed overseas is not only about your qualities on the pitch, it's more than that. Outside the pitch, you need to survive without your family, and this is for a kid from Malta maybe even harder.
Maltese parents are very, very protective, and they worry about how much their child has on their plate. So, you know, you have to go to school, then you have to do homework, then you have to go to football, then you have to go to the national team training, and then you might have private lessons, or you may have compulsory religion lessons done up to the age of 11. You know, so parents believe that their child's life is so full that I'm not going to give them more responsibilities at home now. But what they're not realizing is that by not giving them responsibilities at home, their child is not growing up to be responsible and able to take decisions, and not ready to be able to handle the challenges that they may face overseas in terms of lifestyle skills, first of all. Apart from the lifestyle skills, we also know that the club of philosophy may be different from the philosophy of the club back at home. There's the language barriers, there's the travel barriers, there's the weather, there's the issue of making friends, there's the bullying in the changing room, you know. So it's also, you know, helping them realize that there is all of this.
When you're moving from one place to another, it's very nearby, you know. So you get to see your family very much, more often, you know. As to say, when you're abroad, sometimes people have to leave for work and they're like 2 hours away, you know. So they're obviously they're not 1 day away, you know. So they're not going to go every time to their family, you know. So I think yes, that is something that we are lucky from one end, but at the same time we are not lucky, because as I said before, sometimes it's good to solve problems on your own, because you will grow more and you will learn more at the end of the day.
I don't think in Malta is that serious, like mental health in Malta for an athlete, because in Malta it's easy to unwind, because you have, for example, for a Maltese guy, I'm speaking, you have friends who live very close by, so if football is not going that well and you need to take off your mind of football, you can just, you know, text him, ring him, and you can go. If you want to go to the beach, you can go to the beach. You know, everything is close, so to not think about football, it's quite easy in Malta. You know what I mean? But if they go abroad, that's quite a tough one, you know, because to help them, you can't help them on your phone, you have to be there, you have to be connected with the, you know, face to face. So yeah, it's quite maybe you can ask for the club for help, but I think it has to come from your end.
And speaking again of parents, it is the case especially with stay-home mums. They felt that it is such a difficult thing for them to do, to leave the dishes for their son to do, because their thought is, I'm a stay-home mum, my husband goes out to work hard every day, my kids are full with their activities in school, my job is to be at home and make sure that everything is ready for them. So it's also about breaking those cultural barriers and trying to help parents understand that if they want their child to succeed, then they're going to need to make them more resilient, toughen them up, help them with their decision-making, leadership skills, and so on.
But I think in Malta, the way the Maltese, without sounding, it's true, the way that Maltese family lifestyle is and their core values, which are fantastic, they almost don't lend themselves to going away, if you know what I'm saying. You know, it's a comfortable life in Malta because of the way the country is, and then I think some younger sports people, even in any other industry, when they go abroad, it's a big shock to the system because you're on your own. You know, it's the country is bigger, you're further away from your family. Where you are in Malta, you're always half an hour away from a family member, if not less. So it's a very big shock to the system, and I think that is something where in football we can prepare them for better. My name's Matthew Towns, 40-year-old football coach, head of goalkeeping for the football club. So I look after the goalkeepers from the first team all the way down through the ages, look after the development phases and also the first team. I'm also the under-21s head coach, so I have the whole squad there that I look after as well. He's a very strong goalkeeper. He's unique. For Malta, there's not many like him, if any. He's a goalkeeper that, for me, has a lot to develop, but where he is at the moment, for me, he's one of the best in the country at such a young age. But then we have to remember as well, he is at such a young age, being only 22. He's got a lot of technical things to develop, and also from the psychological side, you know, he's someone that I've known for a long time. You know, I knew him when he was a young boy, and coached him then. And where he is now, he's developed, but he's got a lot to develop.
Matthew Towns has gained a lot of experience as a goalkeeper. He mainly played in England, but has now lived in Malta for more than 10 years. And so the question is, how did he end up in Malta?
My agent phoned me and said, listen, we have an opportunity in Malta, do you want to go? I said, I didn't know where Malta was. I said, yes, so okay, we go. And then the opportunity came. I came over on trial, and I got a better offer in England, so I went back to England, and then ended up back here in the January of that season, in the transfer window. So, and then that was 12 years ago now, nearly 13. So I've been here on and off since then.
And that's how he integrated in the football culture of the country.
I think the fact that it's surrounded by sea. The football is serious and can be more serious. It's a passion, especially when I first came. The supporters used to take you into their heart, you know, so it was very much that it's almost a sense of belonging, and you feel appreciated, so you want to give something back to the people that are supporting you. So I think there was a lot of factors of why Malta as a place and as a country and as a culture, it's where I've now set up home.
Matthew also has a special story himself, because in the prime of his career, he suddenly felt something strange in his neck.
I was going into the gym to train, and I got a phone call immediately off one of the top oncologists in the country, telling me they will see me by the end of today, because it's quite serious. So I saw them, they confirmed that it was a cancer, testicular cancer, and they needed to operate immediately. We did the surgery, and then I took 2 weeks. I was told to take 6 weeks, not to stand up, not to do anything basically. But within 3 weeks, I ran 10k, and I decided I have to get back to playing football. So much so, 2 weeks after that, I got a phone call off an old friend of mine who was a coach in Australia. Asked me how I was. I told him what I'd just passed through. And he said he needs a goalkeeper. And I said, I'm 5 weeks from surgery, give me 3 weeks and I'll be over. I hired a goalkeeper coach of my own, and instead of it being another 3 weeks, it took me 9 weeks to get to Australia. I trained myself. Was I ready? Maybe not. And within 10 weeks from having surgery, I was back playing football again in Australia.
An incredible story. He has now been working in Malta for a long time. With all his experience, what does Matthew think about a big step to a youth academy abroad?
You know, through the academies, through the MFA, through if there's a talent pool that we know that they can go abroad, we must educate them on the stresses of being abroad. What am I going to have to deal with? I might not have a driving licence. I might need to get to the shop. The shop might be half an hour walk rather than these things. You know, they take the toll. I might go and play in a country which is freezing, that I'm not used to. The weather conditions are like this. That the people are not as welcoming as they are in Malta. You know, these are all things that young footballers take for granted, or not take for granted, don't understand.
Adele has been trying to improve this education for years.
We have a summer program where we try and help players become more aware of the challenges they will face in their football career, and how to seek support through any challenges that they may be facing. So our program delves into mental skills training, but it also deals with handling difficult situations throughout their career.
As she said before, clubs also ask her to talk to the players.
What I always emphasize is that the player has to want to come for that support, and two, that whether it's the football association or the club need to realize that there is the confidentiality issue there, that whatever the player says is between me and the player, and that I, as a psychologist, may suggest to the player that, look, this issue can be addressed if you give me the permission to speak to the coach or whoever it is. So always with the permission of the player, if some information that may be beneficial eventually for the player is divulged. It's to be able to try and feel what the player is feeling, to listen to them, but to try and understand what they may be experiencing is one of the most crucial steps in psychology, what we call empathy, advanced empathy, trying to also understand where they're going with their thoughts, and possibly even challenging the players in a safe environment. So showing the players that you're not there to judge them, and that yes, maybe their behavior on the pitch was totally not adequate, but that behavior may have been as a result of something that they were experiencing.
So Connor did not receive this help and he returned to Malta.
I told my father, I told him, I am sure that this is not the end for me, you know? I could feel it, I knew. I told him, you will see that next year I will go again abroad. There was a game, it was like, I think, in the last part of the season it was, and the president came on me and he told me, listen Connor, we have a surprise. There's a very high profile team really interested in you, you know. I was like, when he mentioned high profile team, I was like, wait, what? Can you repeat it again? He was like, yeah, there's a high profile team that are really interested in you.
This big club was Roma. They followed Connor at Floriana and they wanted him to join the youth academy.
I remember I went home, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't even think about it, you know. I was over the moon, you know. And then at the end of the year, yeah, we signed and I made the move, and it was something incredible, you know, something that it was something unbelievable. The facilities, the way that they think, the mentality that they have, it was something that I really learned, that I really enjoyed, that I really improved.
And that's how Connor ended up at one of the biggest clubs in Italy. Sometimes he also trained with the first team. It all started with a dream as a child on this small field in Floriana, and then he suddenly found himself among some of the greatest footballers in Europe.
I was 16 years of age before. I knew what I was going to face now, you know. I didn't speak to no one, you know, at that time, to no one. But from my own personal experience, then I knew what I would find, the difficulties, the problems, you know. So I prepared for them, you know. But I wanted to go. I wanted to take on the challenge. And yes, it was. I think it was the best. Not I think it was the best time of my life. As to football-wise, you know, it was. I couldn't ask for more at the time, you know.
The first 2 years went really well for Connor, but everything turned out differently in his third season. He gets a complex adductor injury that prevented him from playing football for weeks. And when you think it couldn't get any worse, he also receives terrible news from Malta.
My father died, so it was like the world came crashing down on me. Like the most good thing, like what I didn't know how to do was like going out of my life, you know. And one of the most persons that I love in my life is gone, you know. So you can imagine what I was passing through, you know. We were really best friends, and we had a special relationship, you know, because also since he played football and I was playing football, you have a great bond, you know, as to say. So it was really hard for me to accept that the truly one person in the world that really understood me from the football part, and that gave me opinions and his own feedback on stuff is not there anymore, you know. So I couldn't really turn to no one then and to say my problems and how I felt and what should I do, you know. Like I had no one to speak to. You know, I wanted to stay at all costs. I even remember when my father died. Maybe I returned here in Malta for a week and a half, and I went back straight there to work, you know, to get myself fit, to make him proud, you know.
He returned and he gave everything to recover. Physically it was tough, but mentally it was even worse for Connor.
It was a huge, at the time, a huge mental stress for me, and physical stress. But the mental stress, I think, was a big part of it, because I couldn't. I was fighting a battle on my own. Nobody knew what I was passing through. I never spoke, because that's how I am. I like to solve my problems alone. And I wanted to fight them on my own, as I always did, you know, as that 16-year-old boy that went to Italy on his first journey alone. That was what I was trying to do. And yes, then at the end, some things caught up with me, you know, because you cannot hide some feelings and problems all the time on your own, you know. Sometimes it's good to reach out and have a helping hand, and at the end of the day, you know. So yes, it was a hard time. I was changing, you know. Like I used to have fun and enjoy the little things, everything, you know, and I wasn't even enjoying those, you know.
His girlfriend was the first person to ask Connor about his behavior.
That she really mentioned to me, you know, she was like, "You're being different, you know," and at that time you don't really realize, because you're living in a bubble, you know. So what other people are saying, you don't really get what they're saying. So I think that's the first moment, you know, that I really like realized and felt that this is not a small problem. This is a big problem, because it's affecting my everyday life.
The rehabilitation did not go well, and Connor's contract with Roma expired. As much as he wanted to stay, he was physically and mentally exhausted.
The thing that I could think of was my family, you know, what was my mother passing through, my brother passing through alone, and I decided to come back.
Matthew knows how important it is to talk about your mental problems. He also lost his father during his football career.
The month that my father passed away, I'd just been awarded the goalkeeper of the month for the whole league, which was quite a prestigious award. And then as soon as I played one game after, I played well, and then I think the grieving process started, and my performance and my hunger for the game sort of went, and I was making the wrong decisions socially. You know, football sort of took a back seat, and almost instead of seeing football as my escapism tool or my dealing mechanism, it was sort of cast aside because it was hard work to go and play at the level that I was, and I found other ways of escaping, you know, going out, being with friends, going out on the wrong times, with things that you can't do as an athlete. I remember before going out one night, I was about to take an antidepressant. I looked in the mirror and I said, whoa, hold on, this isn't Matthew Towns. This has to stop immediately. And from that moment, that was it. I refocused, I recentered, and it was forward movement, onward movement. So it was a self-realisation of what was going on. 19-year-old young man. Not to say that because I was a male or anything, because I feel that we are all vulnerable. It was just a case that it was a realisation that, no, this isn't right, you know, this happens in life and we have to find a way to deal with it.
Now as a coach, he finds the mental health of his players important.
The coach, especially with younger players, you have to be approachable, because then they have the confidence that they're able to speak to you. And I think that that's the importance.
Many more children in Malta will have the dream to become a professional football player. Some of them will be talented enough, but talent is only one part. The story of Connor and Rashid shows that you have to grow up quickly to survive. We also learned that the family culture in Malta may not match the culture of football. These four people can pass on their knowledge and experience to the next generations to prepare them as best as possible for this major challenge.
From the injuries that I passed, I don't want them to happen to other people and other young kids to pass from what I passed through. So I want to give my knowledge and experience from what I learned, and to give back something to the Maltese football players, the young Maltese football players, so that they don't pass from this, or we try to prevent, you know, at least to try to prevent, because nobody was preventing these things, you know, to happen. So at least I try to prevent. So it's something even that I'm studying on as a strength and conditioning, to be a strength and conditioning coach, and to help others, obviously take care more of their bodies, recover in a good way, and be more ready for the sports that are going to participate in.
Here at the university we do CPD talks once a month, and we invite coaches, we invite students, we invite parents to attend these talks. Of course, they need to come for them. I also lecture within the FA when they're doing the UEFA licenses. So I make sure that when I'm meeting new coaches, I help them understand these aspects and help them understand where they can seek support or further knowledge or even qualifications, do a basic course in sports psychology, for example, so that they are better equipped.
You always have to keep believing in yourself, believe in your own ability, believe in your own position, and be realistic, but also look to achieve. Set your goals and look to how you can achieve those goals. And if there is help out there, if there is one-to-one tuition, if there is a coach that believes in you, You must, someone that's going to help you achieve those goals and has you at the heart of their intent.
When you're there, you're going to feel it heavy on you. Like, it's very difficult. But if you get through it, if you get through that heavy stuff, then it's smooth sailing, like how they say, you know.